ॐ वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ओम श्री महागणपतये नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। So namaste once again everyone.
Namaste Guruji.
So we are on the third mantra of the second section of the first Mundaka. We will read the mantra and also the portion of the Bhashyam which we are now covering. Yasyagnigu yasyagniHotram
YasyagniHotram
adarsham apaurnamasam
adarsham apaurnamasam
achaturmasyam anagrayanam
achaturmasyam anagrayanam
atitivarjitam cha
atitivartitam cha
ahutam
ahutam
avaishwadevam avidhina
avaishvadevamadina
hutam
hutam
asaptamanstasya
asaptamastasya
lokan hinasti
lokan hinasti
yasya agnihotrinah
yasya agnihotrinah
agnihotram adarsham
agnihotram adarsham
darshakhyena
darshakyena
karmana varjitam
karmana varjitam
agnihotrinah
agnihotriणः
avashyam kartavyatvad
avasya kartavyatvad
darshasya
darsya
agnihotra sambandhi
agnihotri sambandhi
agnihotra visheshanam
agnihotra visheshanam
iva bhavati
iva bhavati
tad akriyamanam ityetat.
tadakkriyamanam ityetat.
Very good. So this mantra is highlighting the fact that unless the Agnihotra karma is done efficiently and as per injunctions of the Shastra, and unless it is accompanied by other complementary karmas like Darsha Purnamasya and Chaturmasya, etc., without any deficiency of any kind, the promised result of gaining the 7 upper lokas that is from Bhuloka to Satyaloka, will not be delivered. Of course, the Shruti uses a language which is slightly negative. It says that the promised results will be destroyed for the person who is deficient in his performance. And we started the discussion on the Bhashya. In the first sentence, Bhashyakara explained the word adarsham by explaining that the performance of Agnihotra without being accompanied by performance of karma is called adarsham. Without the accompaniment of the performance of the darshak karma is called adarsham. Then in the second sentence, Bhashyakara is tackling a technical point. This is the sentence we are considering now, discussing now. He is tackling a technical point. And as I mentioned in the last class, there is a good possibility that we may be lost in the discussion of this technical point because we may not be able to relate to it. Since these karmas are, first of all, not being performed by most people nowadays. Unless you perform the karma, unless you know the conditions of the Shastra, and what these karmas will ultimately deliver, all those things, unless you know, we may find these discussions even boring. But since Bhashyakara has commented on it, we have to understand what he wants to convey. So, as I said in the last class, the Veda Purva Bhaga, in the Veda Purva Bhaga, there are two types of karmas mentioned. One is the main karma, and the karmas which are related to the main karma. So these are the two types. Main karma and other karmas which are related to the main karma. And when the main karma is performed, the related karmas are also have to be performed for the main karma to give the results, the promised results. And I gave you the example of doing puja, like Ganesh Chaturthi puja, or Krishna Janmashtami puja, etc., where in the book called Puja Vidhanam, these karmas are referred to as Purvanga Puja, Mukhya Puja, and Uttaranga Puja. This is how they are classified, the main karma and the ancillary karmas. So even though the main emphasis is on the main puja, which is Shodashopachara Puja, the Purvanga Pujas, Uttaranga Pujas have to be necessarily performed for the main puja to give its result. And in the Shastra, the main puja is called Angi Puja. And the related complementary pujas are called Anga Puja. That is why Purvanga, Uttaranga, Anga Pujas. So now, in the light of this above background, when the Shruti says that Agnihotra karma, not accompanied by complementary karmas like Darsha Paurnamasya, Chaturmasya, etc., there is a possibility of a misunderstanding that Agnihotra karma is the main karma, the Mukhya karma, and then the other karmas mentioned are complementary karmas, ancillary karmas. And therefore, the relationship between Agnihotra karma and other karmas is one of Angi and Angas respectively. Such a misunderstanding is likely to arise. Not in our mind, but in the mind of people who know about all these things. And Bhashyakara wants to clarify that such a relationship between these karmas do not exist. Technically, each karma which is mentioned, like Dasha Purnamasa or Chaturmasya, each one of them is an independent karma in its own right. he says that in this context, the mention of the satellite karmas can be taken as adjectives to Agnihotra karma and not a limb of Agnihotra karma, not an anga of Agnihotra karma. So these satellite karmas, the way it has been described, become like anga, though from Shastric point of view, they are not. So we can say, in typical Vedantic language, we can understand that they are as though anga karmas, even though they are not so. I will give you another example which will make it more clear. When we were studying in the Gurukulam, we had Vedanta classes and Sanskrit classes. And the students have to attend both Vedanta and Sanskrit classes because learning Sanskrit was necessary for learning Vedanta, especially for understanding the Bhashya. A fair degree of understanding of Sanskrit is necessary for that. And that is why, unless you have got that foundation in Sanskrit, very difficult to teach Bhashya. Even though I am actually, as I said earlier, also skipping many of the grammatical aspects of the Sanskrit in the Bhashya. So, coming back to the Gurukulam, though both Vedanta and Sanskrit, they can be seen as separate subjects, but they are connected with each other. Because Sanskrit is necessary for Vedanta to be fully understood through the Bhashya. So we can say that Sanskrit was a Vedanta Sambandhi. Just like what Bhashyakara says, Darshayaga is Agnihotra Sambandhi. So being Agnihotra Sambandhi, it becomes as though Agnihotra Visheshanam. So being adjective to Agnihotra, Darshayaga, etc., they become satellite of Agnihotra as it were. Though actually they are not. So finally, what is to be understood is that Agnihotra will be considered to be complete when it is accompanied by Darshayaga, etc. And if not, then Agnihotram will get the status of Adarsham. And Bhashyakara concludes this discussion on Adarsham by saying, Tad Akriyamanam Ityetat. Tad refers to Darshayaga because that is what he is discussing here. Akriyamanam means not done. So, in the final analysis, Adarsham means Agnihotra, for which Darshayaga is a ancillary karma, Adarsham, Darsha karma becomes Adarsham if it is not performed, even though you have performed the Agnihotra karma. Ityetat means this is what Adarsham means. Now the next sentence. Now Bhashyakara is trying to, first I think he thinks we will make it short, but later on I think he changes his mind. So the first thing he says, Tata apaurnamasam ityadishu api Agnihotra visheshanatvam drashtavyam. Tata, similarly, apaurnamasam ityadishu api. So here we have to understand ityadishu padeshu api, the words apaurnamasam, etc. Also, api also. So the meaning of the sentence is similarly, tata, In the expressions Apaurnamasam, etc., they have to be seen as adjectives to Agnihotra. Agnihotra Visheshanatvam Drashtavyam. So, in a similar manner, that is the way we have interpreted the word Adarsham. In a similar manner, we have to understand the interpretation or explanation of the words Apaurnamasam, etc. So all other words, that is Apaurnamasam, Achaturmasyam, Anagrayanam, Atitivarjitam, Avaishwadevam, etc., we have to see all of them as Agnihotra Visheshanatvam. That is what we have to understand. Because all of them being adjective, having the status of adjective to Agnihotra karma. So they all have to be seen as though anga of Agnihotra karma, not in the primary sense, but in the secondary sense. Why? Because he says, Agnihotra angastvasya avisishtatvad. Visishtam means distinct. Avistam means common, samanam. So Agnihotra angatvasya avisishtatvat means being non-distinct from being the anga of Agnihotra. That means here this word avisishtatva is in the sense of necessary. So we can translate as like the Darshayaga, these karmas like Apaurnamasam, Achaturmasyam, etc., are also having the necessary status of being as though anga of Agnihotra, and the necessity of their performance being indistinct from the necessity of performance of Agnihotra. And therefore Agnihotra Visheshanatvam Drashtavyam. These karmas should also be seen as though anga of Agnihotra karma. And non-performance of any of these karmas or deficient performance of any of the karmas will render the Agnihotra karma to be deficient. And being deficient, the promised results of 7 lokas will not be delivered. A person who does Agnihotra karma along with all the other 6 karmas properly as per the injunctions of the Shastra will gain the 7 upper lokas. This is what is the message of the Upanishads. So even though Bhashyakara has made a general statement, having given a general idea that all the other must-do karmas should be necessarily done by Agnihotri, he is going all the way to make it clear so that there is no doubt in our minds as to how to interpret those words in the mantra. So as I said, the previous sentence, first he thought, I will just say, okay, I have already explained Adarsham, elaborately. Now you understand all others also in the similar manner. So very shortcut he used. But he seems he is not convinced. He says, oh, students, that is compassion of Bhashyakara. He doesn't want to take shortcut. He says, okay, if you have understood that, then you can skip this. But then I want to explain it to those students again in detail in case they have not understood what was said earlier. So, from a Bhashyam writing standpoint also, this is necessary because Bhashyam should explain each word in the mantra. So even though using the Adarsham example, the general idea has been conveyed, Bhashyakara is fulfilling the requirement for Bhashyam writing by explaining each word. So he has already explained Adarsham as Darshakyena Karmana Varjitam. Now he starts with Apaurnamasam and says it means Paurnamasam Karma Varjitam. As we have seen, Varjitam means bereft of, without. So Apaurnamasam means Agnihotra Karma done without performing the karma called Paurnamasam is Apaurnamasam. We have already seen some details of these karmas in the introduction. Therefore, I will not repeat those explanations. Another aspect is that explaining these karmas are not very relevant for what we want to finally reach, destination we want to reach. Okay. Next one is Achaturmasyam. Bhashyakara says Chaturmasya Karma Varjitam. So Achaturmasyam means Agnihotra karma done without performing karma called Chaturmasyam. Then Anagrayanam, which is explained as Agrayanam Sharadadi Kartavyam Tacha na kriyate yasya. So as we have seen, Agrayanam is a ritual which is to be done twice a year. Bhashyakara says Sharadadi Kartavyam to be done in Sharad Ritu. And Adipadena stands for Vasanta Ritu. So this has to be done with freshly harvested grain. Tacha ne kriyate yasya. Tacha and that. Na not. Kriyate done. Yasya of which Agnihotra. So Anagrayana means Agnihotra karma done bereft or without Agrayanam karma. Then the next one is Tata Atiti Varjitam Cha, for which he explains Atiti Pujanam Cha Ahanyahani Akriyamanam Yasya. Tata, similarly, Atiti Varjitam, bereft of the guest, that is Atiti Pujanam, worshipping the guest. Because that is also one of the requirements for this Agnihotri, for getting the complete result of Agnihotra karma. Cha and. So Atiti Pujanam, he says, worshipping the guest. Again, cha and. Ananyahani. Ananyahani means every day. Not once in a month, once in a year. Akriyamanam, not done. Yasya, for which Agnihotra. And therefore, if Atiti Pujanam, that honoring and worshipping of a guest every day, is not done along with Agnihotra karma, then the Agnihotra will become deficient. And the result will be destruction of the 7 lokas. And Bhashyakara is emphasizing that this has to be done every day, because if somebody does once a week, once a month, it's not enough. So ahani, every day it should be done. And normal practice, which actually the Shastra says is, a person before he has his food should go outside the house, search for an atiti, and he should attempt to get a guest. Of course, he cannot force anyone. But somebody has already had lunch, passing through this house. He will not catch hold of you. Oh, no, come to my house also. I have one more lunch. No, he can't do that. He can't randomly pick someone who might have already had his food and say, you have to come as my guest, because otherwise my Agnihotra karma will become deficient. That is not the idea. but he should make sufficient attempt to get the guest. And by chance, if any guest comes on his own, he should not drive him away, giving some flimsy reason. Because these days, these things happen. Many people come and knock at your door and say that I have not had food for so many days. Can you please give me food? And generally, at least I don't know about villages, I'm not stayed in metro cities and all, we will look at those people with some, suspicion. What is this person trying to do? Why is he coming to my house? Is he some sort of a burglar? That when I go inside to get food, he will enter the house, then he will do something, to make me faint, and then he will steal everything. This is the situation. Kali Yuga, all these beautiful concepts have been turned on their head in Kali Yuga. Anyway, this Atiti Pujanam is technically called Manushya Yajna. So, whenever we talk about this Panchamaha Yajna, generally we say Manushya Yajna is the Atiti Pujan. But of course, when these days, since this Atiti Pujanam is out of practice, we say Manushya Yajna means do social service. That is not the main meaning, that is an extended sense. We say social service. Technically, from Shastriya Drishtiya, Manushya Yajna means serving the guest. So these are all the problems of urban living. So at least today, barring probably a very few, tiny few, most of the others will not get the 7 lokas, can't go to Swarga from Shastra point of view. Whatever you do, if you have not, because the starting point is doing Agnihotra Karma. So if you are a Karmi, then you cannot expect to go to Swarga unless you fulfill all these requirements. So today what we can say, Atiti Pujanam, serving humanity in any form, there are so many NGOs, they say donate 1,000 rupees for 1 day's food for some, they are running some NGOs and all that. So there are so many old age homes, then orphanages, so many are there. So by participating in their activities, you can say we are doing Atiti Pujana. Anyway, so the next word is Ahutam. And Bhashyakara says, Swayam Samyak Agnihotra Kale Ahutam. Ahutam, the word, literally means not performed. This meaning cannot be taken because non-performed Agnihotra cannot exist at all. The first assumption is Agnihotra karma is performed, and then only the mantra talks about other karmas, ancillary karmas to be performed for Agnihotra to give its result. So Agnihotra karma should be performed, but at the same time, when you say Adarsham, Apaurnamasam, etc., it should not be taken as not performed, or it should not be taken as performed. So you see, you perform Agnihotra karma, then you don't perform other karmas, then the Agnihotra karma becomes as though not performed. So there is a contradiction. isn't it? Because ahutam means not performed. So Bhashyakara feels that Agnihotram Ahutam will be understood as if you don't perform Agnihotra karma at all. Then that will lead to a wrong interpretation. I hope you understand the subtle difference here. When you say Agnihotra Ahutam means Agnihotra karma not done. But when you say Adarsham, Apaurnamasam, etc., what it means? It means Agnihotra karma done without accompaniment of the other ancillary karmas. So in one sentence it says Agnihotra karma is not done. Another sentence it says Agnihotra karma is done. So there is a contradiction. There are very, very subtle points, I tell you, and it will not occur to all of us at all. Our buddhi is not so sharp as Bhashyakara's buddhi. But he thinks of all these things. There may be, some very, very brilliant, intelligent student with of Bhashyakara, and he feels that that student will certainly raise this question, so I need to cover this in the Bhashya. Therefore, he interprets the word ahutam very beautifully. So he says, ingeniously interprets ahutam as not performed on time. So he says, Swayam, the Agnihotra itself, Samyak Agnihotra Kale, on the time prescribed for Agnihotra. Generally, the word Samyak would mean properly, and properly would include all requirements as to the time of doing the karma, the procedure for doing the karma, etc. But here, Bhashyakara is focusing on only one aspect for a reason, which I will explain later. As I said, ahutam means not done. So till now, the discussion has been non-performance of the satellite karmas, which will render the Agnihotra karma, performed Agnihotra karma, deficient. So the fundamental assumption is that the Agnihotra karma itself is being done as per Shastric injunctions, and that the other karmas are not done. So the word ahutam is to emphasize that even if all other satellite karmas are done properly, but Agnihotra karma itself is not done as prescribed, then also Agnihotra karma will be rendered deficient. So this is how Bhashyakara is interpreting, and that is why he is pointing out that if Agnihotra karma is not done at the time prescribed, then there will be a deficiency. So as we have noted earlier, Agnihotra is a compulsory karma which has to be done twice a day, in the morning and evening. And also there is a Kala Niyama for that. It has to be done in the morning during sunrise and the evening during sunset. Therefore, one needs to prepare for the performance of the karma little earlier itself. Agnihotra karma has to be preceded by Sandhya Vandana karma. So Sandhya Vandana karma before sunrise you have to do. See, all these are all connected. Do Sandhya Vandana karma before sunrise, then get ready for Agnihotra karma. In fact, most of the preparation for Agnihotra karma will be taken care of by the spouse, the wife. Because the karta, the yajamana will be busy doing Sandhya Vandana karma. So she will organize all that, things required, material required for Agnihotra karma. Then the moment he finishes Sandhya Vandana karma, he will come. That will be the time when the sun is rising. Then he will perform Agnihotra karma. Perfect way of doing it. And you will ask, sun, every day rises at different times, slightly, different times is not very, very, vastly different, but few minutes here and there. That also sunrise, sunset timings for each day can be found from the local Panchangam. And therefore, all these things, the performance at the right times becomes very important. One cannot say, I wake up only at 7 o'clock, I will perform Agnihotra at 8 o'clock. Then the Agnihotra will be rendered Ahutam. So in Shastra, if you understand, timings are prescribed for every karma. Just now, as I said, Sandhya Vandanam has to be done during the dawn before sunrise. In fact, if you have noticed, if you have ever gone for a morning walk before sunrise, say at 5 o'clock, if you have noticed, the birds wake up before sunrise. Atmosphere will be very enjoyable. It will be cool, musical, with different kinds of birds chirping and producing different sounds. It's really very, very nice, You will feel very refreshed and rejuvenated. You don't need to listen to any other music concert or any ragam and all. Those chirping of the birds itself is so divine. You are totally in touch with the cosmic, forces, the cosmic, I should say, all the cosmic aspects rather. Mind will be calm and absorbed in the sound of the birds. And as I said, that's the best entertainment according to me, which one can have. I used to go regularly, almost for the last, I should say, 10 years, because in Gurukulam, I could not go for morning walk. In Kuwait also, I used to do. Because Gurukulam 4:30, you have to get up and then do your Sandhya Vandanam and rush to the temple for the puja. So there is no time for morning walk. But then when after Gurukulam days, I used to go, and morning 5 o'clock, I used to go. Half an hour, 40 minutes. Beautiful time. Unfortunately, with all my health problems, I had to discontinue that. But now, after coming to Coimbatore, I have resumed it. Again, beautiful. I mean, it's something which I really love, rather. So, the sequence will be perform Sandhya Vandanam before sunrise and then be ready to perform Agnihotra Karma during sunrise. There is similarly, there are timings prescribed for other karmas also, like Amavasya Tarpanam, Shraddha, etc. The precondition for performance of these karmas is that one should have completed the Madhyanam before performing these karmas. Madhyanam is to be performed when the sun is directly above the head, which will be around the noon time. Therefore, these Pitru karmas have to be done around the or after the noon time. Olden days and all, that is what, the priests will come only at 12 o'clock for, doing Shraddham, etc. But then again, all these things have been thrown to the winds these days. In Kuwait, I remember, forget Madhyanam and noon time, because people have to go to their offices for work at 7 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes they have to travel a long distance, half an hour, 1 hour by road. So they used to do Amavasya Tarpanam at 5 o'clock in the morning, even before sunrise. I used to ask them what the big purpose of doing this. Somehow gives them satisfaction. I have done my Amavasya Tarpanam. So anyhow, the point is there are prescriptions for each karma when it is to be done. Even Janmashtami Puja has to be done at the time when the Janma takes place, 12 o'clock midnight. These days in the morning itself, they will do the puja and they eat all the other savories which they have prepared. So, all these prescriptions are to be compulsorily followed. If not, all these will be rendered deficient. as I said, we need not feel guilty about it. Having come to Vedanta, doing these karmas is not our primary aim. That is not our goal. Going to Swarga is not our goal. Punyam is not our goal. Our goal is moksha. In fact, should avoid gaining punyam. Or we must have, whenever we are doing any karma which is supposed to be a punya karma, you should say that please do not add the punyam of this karma to my account. I don't want the punya, because the more punya I have, I will have to take rebirth for exhausting that punya. So we must be very clear in our mind. I don't want punya. By following the dharmic way of life, I will avoid papa to the maximum extent possible, so that my punya papa account is very thin. Balance is very thin. And once I get jnanam, that balance also will be completely nullified. That is our route map. So we need not follow, worry or feel guilty. Oh, I am not doing this karma, I am not doing that karma and all. All this is meant for those who want to go to Swarga. Enjoy there. In Bhagavad Gita, we will see this Swarga business. But of course, there are still few Vedic practitioners who strictly adhere to all these procedures. But their population is dwindling. Anyway, Bhashyakara is considering only one aspect, which is the timing aspect of the performance of the Agnihotra karma in interpreting the word Ahutam. The next one is Adarshadivat Avaishwadevam Vaishwadeva karma varjitam. Adarshadivat means like Sham Apaurnamasam, etc. Vat pratyaya. That gives a meaning of like. Vatu. Avaishwadeva means not doing of Vishwadeva karma, which also has to accompany the Agnihotra karma. He says Vaishwadeva karma varjitam, bereft of Vaishwadeva karma. So this is also one more ritual, a fire ritual, where oblations are offered to Vishwadeva. In fact, there is a group of 10 gods called Vishwadeva, and they are worshipped through this karma. And therefore it is called Vaishwadeva karma. And if that karma is not done with Agnihotra, that is called Avaishwadevam. So again, it is an adjective to Agnihotra. We can say Avaishwadevam means Vishwadeva karma varjitam. And the next word he takes up is Avidina Hutam. Avidina Hutam is there in the Moolam. Avidina Hutam is there in the Moolam. Bhashyakara says, Huyamanamapi Avidina Hutam. Na yata Hutam ityetat. Huyamanamapi. Even though it is done, that is, even though Agnihotra is done on time, with the prescribed rules. Vidhi means prescribed rules. Avidhina means not as per prescribed rules. Where it is to be offered, in what manner it is to be offered, what material is to be used, all these come under Vidhi. Hutam means done. Avidhi means not done. Yata hutam ityetat. Na yata hutam, it performed in proper manner. So Agnihotra, even though it is done and it is done on time, if it is not done as per rituals, as per the rules and procedure prescribed in the Shastra, it is not performance in proper manner. So Bhashyakara, in these two, he has actually Ahutam and Avidina Hutam, he has interpreted very beautifully to give two different aspects of the vidhi of the Shastra. For example, suppose in the Shastra it is said that the oblations in Agnihotra can be done with some prescribed dravya. Suppose it says out of 10 dravyas you can use any one. So you have to use only one of those. You cannot say, oh, I am staying in a place where all these 10 dravyas are not available. So I will offer whatever is available here. That will not be proper. And suppose another example, the order of chanting the mantra is that you are supposed to say Suryaya Swaha, Prajapate Swaha in this order. But first you say Prajapate Swaha and then Suryaya Swaha. That will also not be proper. Then we have seen one more important requirement. Oblation should be offered in the Ajya Bhaga Antarena, middle of the Homakunda. But if you are offering it in one corner and all, that will not be proper. And also it is said that the oblation should be offered when the fire is well kindled. But you offer the oblation when it is smoky fire. So all these will not be proper. They will all come under avidina hutam. And Bhashyakara further says, na yata hutam ityetat. Yata hutam means performed duly. Na yata hutam means not performed duly. Not performed in an appropriate manner. And what is happening is, in modern times, of course, as I said, hardly anybody does any of these karmas. And one of the very popular excuses they give is that the Shastra is very strict and we cannot follow all these procedures and requirements. According to them, the Shastra should be flexible, give options and choices. And such arguments are frivolous arguments. It is like the arguments these days going on the topic of this SIR, this special intensive review of the voter list being done in Bihar. The arguments given against that are all very frivolous. Because once you accept the Shastra, you have to accept what all the Shastra ordains. Either you accept the whole or reject the whole. So once you have accepted that the democracy will function as per the representative of the People's Act, and then one person will have one vote only, then you have to take all the requirements, all the prescriptions of that act. You cannot say, no, this portion I will take, this portion I will not take. There is no question of partial acceptance. And it is not that the Shastra does not give options. Where deemed necessary, it gives options also. For example, in Shodashopasara Puja, we are supposed to offer Vastram, Upavitam, etc. to the deity. In case you are unable to do it, then the Shastra permits you to offer Akshadai, this yellow rice instead. Vastrartam Akshadan Samarpayami, Upavidartam Akshadan Samarpayami. But if Shastra says you have to offer some fruits or milk as Naivedyam, you cannot say Naivedyartam Akshadan Samarpayami. That will not be accepted. Even if you offer just a banana for Naivedyam, that will be okay. So I can go on giving examples rather. Even if you offer one banana, that will be vidina hutam. Therefore, wherever it is necessary and possible, Shastra provides the options. But if these karmas are done, but they are avidina hutam, there will be no result. And we must understand one more aspect. In the Shastra, these karmas are prescribed for two purposes. One is as kamya karma for gaining punya, so that you can either get your desires fulfilled or you can go to higher lokas. If you don't want that, you can perform these karma. If you don't want that, you can perform these karmas as nishkama karma with karma yoga attitude for chitta shuddhi. Now, if you do not do it properly, you will get neither result. The only result will be you will be wasting all the effort and material that you have used. So the approach towards Shastra should be, it should be done as prescribed. Otherwise, it becomes avidina hutam. So one point, as I indicated just now, little earlier also, we have to note, ahutam is where Bhashyakara interpreted it restrictively as Agnihotra is done, but not done on time prescribed for Agnihotra karma. He took this limited interpretation because he knew that another word avidina hutam is coming. In fact, there is not much difference between ahutam and avidina hutam. But then if he includes the time element also in avidina hutam, which is quite reasonable, quite correct, then for him to interpret ahutam will become a problem. And he cannot, interpret the same word, different words in the same way twice. So, in order to avoid punarukti dosha, the fault of repetition, Bhashyakara very brilliantly gives different shades of meanings to these two words. This is the brilliance of Bhashyakara. Now, the last quarter of the mantra is Asaptaman Tasya Lokan Hinasti, which states what happens if the karmas are not done as per Vidhi. Bhashyakara is introducing this portion by raising a rhetoric question and says that the answer is in the next part of the mantra. Evam dussambatitam asambatitam agnihotradi upalakshitam karma kim karoti ityuchyate. Evam, in this manner, dussambaditam, not properly done, not done as per procedure, not done as per Shastra. Asampaditam, not done completely, not done in complete measure. Agnihotradi upalakshitam, represented by Agnihotra, etc. That is the accompanying karma. Upalakshitam means represented by karma, ritual. Kim, what, karoti, does it do? Ityuchyate, that is said. So the question is, all right, till now we all talked about how it should be done. Now, in the last part, the Upanishad says, what will happen if it is not done? Not done as stated earlier. So the question is, what will happen if the karmas are not done properly or not done in the manner prescribed? That is answered here. And Bhashyakara is highlighting that this question should be applicable to all the karmas, not just Agnihotra karma. So he says Agnihotra the upalakshitam karma, karmas represented by Agnihotra, etc. So what will happen if the karmas are not done properly or not done in the manner prescribed? Bhashyakara explain asaptaman saptarahita sahitan tasya kartuhu lokan hinasti iva ayasa matra phalatvat. Bhashyakara says asaptaman is equal to saptama sahitan along with the seventh, that is all the seven. Tasya of that yajamana, kartuhu the doer, lokan the worlds, hinasti destroys. Deficient agnihotra karma destroys all seven worlds of the performer of the karma. Here Bhashyakara says it is not a literal destruction. Iva, he adds, as though. Ayasa matram phalatvat. Phalatvat means result. Ayasa matra effort alone. So if Agnihotra and other related karmas are performed in a deficient manner, the result will be in the form of effort alone. That means what? It will not give the prescribed result. Therefore, since it is ayasa matra phala, it is said hinasti iva, as though destroyed. So here Bhashyakara is explaining that why Agnihotra is said to be destroying the seven lokas, even though literally it does not. But still it is said that Agnihotra destroys seven lokas. What does it mean? So as I said, though it is not to be taken literally, and it is to be taken only in the figurative sense, but in what manner it is to be understood, that is explained here. But before we go into that, there could be a question. And what is that? It is said that the result of in the form of seven lokas, if everything is done properly, would have been accomplished by the karta. So if Agnihotra karma would have given the seven lokas, the question would be which one of the seven lokas he would have gotten. Because one cannot exist in all the seven lokas simultaneously. And Bhashyakara knows this will be a question. Brilliant students are there, they will ask some such questions. Which loka? Seven lokas, he says. Is it all or some loka we can go? So Bhashyakara answers that in the next sentence. He says, Samyak kriyamaneshu hi karmasu karma parinama anurupena bhuradaya satyantaha saptalokaha phalam prapyante. Very beautiful clarification. And it is actually a, what I should say, it saves the day for the people who are not able to perform the karmas properly. So he says samyak properly, kriyamaneshu done, he because, karmasu actions. Because if actions are not done properly, karma parinama anurupena, in keeping with the results of the action, bhuradaya, bhu, etc. Bhu stands for bhumi, the earth. Satyanta hai, up to the Satya Loka hai. Sapta, seven, loka hai, worlds. Phalam, the result. Prapyante, are attained. So, if karmas are done properly, then in keeping with all the results of action, everything is there, perfectly done. Then, which of the seven loka one will go? Because which are the seven loka? Sapta loka, bhuhu, bhuva, suva, maya, jana, tapa, Satya. 7 lokas. So the Agnihotri would have attained one of the 7 lokas, including Earth, Bhuloka. And that would be in keeping with the Adrishtam or Punya born out of doing the karmas properly. So starting from Bhuloka up to Satyaloka, based on the karma and upasana he has done, he would have got one of the 7 lokas as the result. And what determines that result, Bhashyakara explains, which we will see in the next class. We will continue. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om.
हरि ओम
Namaha. Harihi Om. Dhanyavadaha. Thank you all very much.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ
ಧನ್ಯವಾದः ಗುರುಜಿ.
हरि ओम गुरुजी, थैंक यू.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದः.
Dhanyavadaha.
प्रणाम गुरुजी.
Pranam. Thank you.
I think for our constitution we need a Bhashyakara.
Bhashyams are there. But people don't read Bhashyam. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Namaskaram.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Thank you. Any other question? No hands are going up. So I guess there are no questions. So we can close the session. Okay. Right then. Hari Om. Thank you all. Thank
हरि
you.
ओम गुरुजी.
Om. Thank you.